And this was reflected during the interviews we had with the students. One vivid example of this domestication is the wrestling contest. Wrestling, as narrated in the book, is done in more or less the same way as what obtains here in the Gambia. Another example of domestication was when the Ozus were mentioned. These people were at the lowest stratum of Umofian society. They were not allowed to mix with those considered to be of the high class. Teachers liken the Ozus situation to the caste system that exists in some ethnic groups in the Gambia.
As part of the research launch, the organizers took time to present Chinua Achebe's major accomplishments and highlighted some of the words or sayings that stand the test of time.
In this book, Things Fall Apart, we are reminded of the African struggle and rejection of foreigners. However, in the end, European culture and its sweeping consequences dominated the continent. A new brand of people emerged in Umofia that led to the crisis of culture and the eventual collapse of African norms and values. Achebe uses Umofia to discuss the infiltration of foreign cultures in Africa, which undermine the strength and social cohesion of African traditional societies.
Nelson Mandela of South Africa stands testimony to this. He once remarked, Achebe is such a wonderful writer, in whose company even the prison walls came down. So we can say that with Achebe's works, even prisoners take solace.
The young researchers and some of the teachers in the 11 schools they conducted the research were awarded certificates for successfully putting together the data. While some of the participants relished in the scholarly exercise by taking souvenir pictures, for some their time at the UTG was almost about to come to an end. However, it was the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Administration and Finance, Dr. Omar Jah Jr., who delivered the last words. And this was a recurrent theme in Achebe's world.
I am a strong believer that the retiredness of Africa is mainly based on the absence of an African worldview. When you compare Africa and Asia, I lived in Asia. I was in Malaysia. Those countries called Six Tigers, who are now high-tech, and they were subjected to different torture, different colonial experience, but they have been able to create what they call ASEAN values.
Written and published more than 5 decades ago, Things Fall Apart continues to ignite insightful debates around Africa before and after the white man's invasion of the continent, depending on how one sees it. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why the book remains, as some writers put it, unputdownable. Ibrahim Balde, GRTS News.
And back to our main story, it is day 7 of President Jammeh's dialogue with the People's Tour, and in the Lower River region, the President, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh, pledged to build a road network linking Sankandi and its satellite villages. As we hear in this report by Abdul Jai, the President's development package for Kiang is a hefty one.
On Saturday for his second meeting in the Lower River region. Fans and loyalists were spread along the route where a presidential motorcade was set to pass to cheer him through and motivate his efforts. Breaking through the once hard line of the opposition, the Gambian leader pledged to resuscitate life in the Kiang with the construction of the Sankandi road network, bringing them water and electricity connectivity and improving the conditions of his health facilities. A new ambulance will have been parked at the Krantaba health post before the end of the day as part of a series of incentives earmarked for the region. For Kiang, it was overall best, not only for the pledges made by the President, but the special showcase the platform afforded its genius. The governor of the Lower River region, Lamin Dabo, and Chief Alhaji Demba Sanyang linked the presentation of the prototype French brand Peugeot, filled with improvised mechanics by a son of Kiang to the year of science and technology declared by the President. The retired Captain Ibrahim Kambi draws attention to the ever-shifting political agenda of the people of Kiang, describing their allegiance to the APRC as very strong. The subsequent response from the presidential team, which include the Ministers of Health Balagaba Jehupa, Finance Abdul Koli, and Basic and Secondary Education Fatlamin Fai, highlighted the steady development taking shape across the Kiang. The Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources, Mas Aksigai, said government will inaugurate a fisheries project completed recently in Kiang to boost efforts of local fisherfolk. The presidential entourage later entered the West Coast region to the sounds of cannon fire, acknowledging his arrival to the land of his birth. The bridge bordering the West Coast and the Lower River region was filled on both sides by political enthusiasts as well as well-wishers who long waited the arrival of the Gambian leader. This is not certainly the final chapter of his tour, but opened an incredible phase to the overall assessment exercise that took the president to the North Bank, the Central River, the Upper River, the Lower River, and now the West Coast region of the country. It was all set in Mayok, where he was welcomed by Governor Lamin Sane, Chief Bakari Dembo Baji, and a host of other political personalities serving the region at the legislature and the council. Their discourse centered around the work of GALDEP in improving agricultural production and the very urgency of support required to bolster education in the Fonyi. The Minister of the Interior, Usman Sonko, singled out the trade in cannabis as the worst threat confronting young people in the West Coast region, especially in the Fonyi. This, the minister said, is further aggravated by the situation in the Casamance, advising compound heads to be cautious and report any suspicious activity in their compound or in the neighborhood. Addressing the crowd, Professor Jammeh said he expects to find the Mayo School complex where the meeting was held, spawning a vast agricultural display when he crossed the country in September. Once upon a time, the people of Fonyi took pride in producing their own feed, but according to the Gambian leader, that is a history which is determined to rejuvenate. He pledged a tractor for any village that can produce and present to him 1,000 bags of any produce at the end of the season. The package is part of the motivation in ending the indifference towards farming, and with a convincing youth participation, the president is confident that Gambia can survive on what it produces. The welcome to his home village of Kanilai further attested to his popularity, with a crowd that can even rival any other in the previous places visited. What perhaps makes it more impressive is the stamina of the people and their patience in waiting that long for the Gambian leader to arrive, who only made it into town around midnight. With the presidential entourage, I am Abdul Jai reporting.
Child activists are brainstorming and critically analyzing the theme for this year's Day of the African Child celebrations. Our reporter Abdullah Baji takes a closer look at early marriage and some major issues that are likely to top the agenda.
June each year is commemorated as the Day of the African Child in commemoration of the Soweto massacre that took place in South Africa in 1976. About 10,000 black school children took part in a march demanding to be taught in a language that they understand against the then apartheid government of South Africa, when they were violently gunned down by security forces, killing scores of the children. The Gambia is one of the countries that commemorates the day with a series of events by activists and child organizations. Individuals working in the promotion and protection of the rights of children share their perspective of the day, especially for a country that has a very youthful population.
And this is significant also for the Gambia because we have a very youthful population. According to statistics, about 62 to 67% of this population is below the age of 25, and about 48 or so is under the age of 18 years. So we have a very youthful population, and so it behoves on all of us to ensure that from time to time we sit down, we look at the lives of those children, we look at what progresses we have made to enable them reach their maximum potentials in life, and to maximize our efforts and our resources to make sure that they have a better present and a better future.
This is a day that does not only remind people of the brutal massacre of those young people, but one that also avails and creates a platform for children to discuss on issues confronting their development as well as map out ways of addressing them. Key is the issue of early marriage, which is the national theme for the Day of the African Child in the Gambia.
People need to understand, because one thing that is very important is about the awareness level of Gambians. We know if you talk about early marriage, they will bring up all the traditional issues. They'll try to bring in religion and a lot of other things that they will tell you are against our religion or against our culture. So one thing is that we need to raise the awareness of people so that they understand that yes, marriage is a religious injunction, but then there is nowhere even in the Quran which tells you that marriage is by force. I mean, it tells you that marriage is between two consenting adults, or that it has to be between two people who agree to marry. So for the fact that you force a child to marry simply tells you that it is non-Islamic. So that is one area. So the level of awareness needs to be there. And then another issue also we need to have the policies and the laws that can be able to ensure